Nikki Incorporated President, Mr. Naotoshi Okada, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to speak before you on this 25th Nikki Future Asian Conference. I am glad to be back in Tokyo during an auspicious period when Japan ushers a new era, and I congratulate His Majesty Emperor Naruhito on a succession to the throne. The forum's theme this year is timely and relevant. Asia is in the cusp of a historic transformation. While growing wealth and influence, a region emerges from the periphery claim and the rightful place at the center of the evolving global order. Recent developments, however, appear to paint a chaotic global environment. But I submit to you that chaos is only part of a large picture. There are strong examples of partnerships and meaningful cooperation in the international community. Chaos may in fact be an inevitable stage in the emergence of a new order responsive to our realities of the 21st century. I talk about the changing world. Perhaps the most important changes to grasp are the technological breakthroughs that are disrupting our established lives. New technologies empower, but they also have a fragmenting effect on our societies. The global balance of power is also shifting from west to east. And as a result, a region is yet becoming an arena for big power competition with all its attendant risks and opportunities. We are deeply concerned about the ongoing trade war between the US and China. It is creating uncertainty and tension. It is causing downward stressors of the global economy. It is becoming a protracted war on the global and trade investments everywhere. The world is watching in earnest. There must be a resolution soon. The changing nature of non-traditional security issues, such as terrorism, climate change, and transnational crimes, add to the global volatility. Our institutions for global governance are currently under siege. Unilateralist, protectionist, and nativist tendencies are rearing its ugly head again in some parts of the globe. This at a time when the need to join hands has never been greater. Terrorism continues to fester and threaten the very foundations of civilized societies of the world. The supreme irony, as terrorists surreptitiously advance and move from one country to another, they are making the movement of people for legitimate reasons more difficult. As terrorists and violent extremists proceed with their task of tearing up the international community, they are forcing us to rethink our ideas of borders and protection. Indeed, we are faced with the same global challenges, but some suffer more than others. Nothing demonstrates this better than climate change. Vulnerabilities are not equally shared by all nations. Developing countries that have contributed the least to global warming, like my country, the Philippines, suffer the most from its horrendous consequences. With water levels rising, most countries will measure the losses in terms of coastlines. Developing archipelagic nations like the Philippines, however, measure our losses in terms of islands and the lives of our citizens. Year in, year out, we suffer doubly when typhoons strike. The poorest of our poor bear the brunt of damage, becoming even poorer in the aftermath. Government with limited resources and capabilities have to contend with the spiral of suffering on top of the urgent development priorities. This vicious cycle is real, and indeed it must end. There has to be a way. When the lives of millions hang in the balance, there has got to be a way. The Philippines joined the global consensus to fight climate change. We hope that this consensus would hold and real action be undertaken, especially by those most responsible for this monumental problem. Government must comply with obligations beyond our constituency. The problem of the grave to humanity affects the entire human population. There has to be an accountability. Let me just divert this is a prepared speech. But when I was in somewhere, the latest of my trip outside the Philippines, I had a chance to talk in a roundtable discussion. And without meaning, no offense intended to the UN President, I love him, he's a smart guy. But during his time, he was talking, ever complaining about climate change. And it took him about 30 minutes to put forth to us what ails the climate change. And after he talked, I intervened and said, you know, Mr. President, Guterres, we are talking about deaths. We talk about destruction. We talk about dislocation. The Philippines have been there. I have even fired several cabinet members for attending so many climate change conferences. One in Africa, then Brazil, then all in all, one of my cabinet members traveled 20 times outside of the country just to listen to what animal is this climate change. And yet, when she came home, there was this big typhoon. And she was not able to land in the Philippines. And for all of these things, climate change everywhere, every philosophical discipline have talked about this. And I said to the body, let's stop kidding each other. Or else we are just wasting the time and the money of the people coming back and forth to these conferences which has not improved a bit since we started to talk about it, as it was maybe except the noisy scientists. And I said, what have we done? From the first meeting to the last, none. My country facing the Pacific Ocean. It is the window, as a matter of fact, facing the Pacific Ocean. And every warning there, heating up, causes typhoons, and the Philippines would have had its share of lives and property lost. And then again this year, there's a coming conference of climate change. Then I pose this question. Maybe we will attend, maybe we will not. America has not signed the treaty. China got out of it. I don't think Russia is happy with its membership there. Then what ails the system now? What is this conference of climate change for? Is it just to talk? Because there is nobody, no entity to enforce the laws governing climate. There is not even a sanction. And mankind has always been there, as practiced by many over the periods of generations, of just talk. And at the end of a century or two, there is trouble, there is war. I don't know what would be the end result of this climate change, but I can say to you now, it will wrought destruction. Maybe wars, maybe the drying up, coupled with the fact that we have so many places who are flashpoints in our geopolitics. There are so many countries with so many bombs, atomic, hydrogen, and all. Now, if any one of them would just start to send one into the air, there's a chance that it will be the end of the world. And so climate change does not really matter to us at all. Because if no one after a war grows in this planet Earth, we will go hungry. And then we will just wait for the day to take our last breath. That is how humankind nowadays are reckless. China Sea, it adds stress. We are friends with China. I am the moderator country for China and the ASEAN. And the last thing I heard was that the conduct of the sea is just about 2 years away. I would not want to impose my own, what would be my last word. But if I get a chance to visit Beijing again, I try to talk to President Xi Jinping. And the longer it takes for the issue to be there, it is always a flashpoint for trouble. And not only that, because of the absence of the conduct of the sea, France, Britain, America are testing the waters. This is not a testing of waters of temperature, my God. It is really testing who can fire the first shot. And I am sad and bewildered, not angry because I cannot do anything. But I just hope that China would come up with conduct of this soon, and somebody should reach out to the United States. Because if you leave it to them to talk, nothing will happen. There is so much animosity covered by sweet talking about how they desire to have an agreement. But nobody's pushing, and the intrusions, as far as China is concerned, it's in their waters. I love China. It has helped us a bit. But it behooves upon us to ask, is it right for a country to claim the whole ocean? Or we just leave the high seas as it was during the old days of international law? You have about 3, then it was extended to 12, and you have the economic zones. Overnight, it was all wiped out in the western part of the world. If you look at the map of the Philippines, your left side is the western part. And so, before anything else, it would do as well, maybe on a higher ministerial level, to talk about this and try to prod China to come out soon, to shorten the possibility to make sure that the law of averages is reduced to the barest minimum. If it is like fighting can erupt at 25%, maybe we can reduce it to 15. But there has to be somebody not identified with any country that China does not like. Because there will never be a sort of an American-China talking seriously about territories. It will just end up in a shouting match. China is standing pat. The China Sea is part of the Republic of China. And so we give it. Why? Because they are there. And a lot of lousy politicians in my country would take to push me to arbitrary ruling because we won. And China said, this is our land. This is our sea. Anyone who goes in there will just have to contend with us verbally and maybe with arms. My country is very small. It has progressed a little over the years. I do not know why. But I cannot afford a war with anybody, not only with China. And the moment I send out my Marines beyond 6 kilometers, they will all be wiped out in 1 or 2 military strikes. We do not have that weapons. We need to buy, but there are some priorities like food, education, hospitalization. There's never enough. So I cannot go into some sort of adventure to fight not my war, but what the claimant precipitated by a geographical tension. And that is what it is. Filipinos aspire for a prosperous country where families thrive in vibrant, resilient, and secure communities. To achieve this vision, our government is determined to catapult the Philippines to the ranks of upper middle income countries with a thriving knowledge economy. I am determined to see our policies support the poor. We enacted the free tertiary education and universal health care to give our people safety nets for the basic means to lead a life of dignity. I want the presidency on a platform of law and order. I wish to see the Philippines that is like Japan, the people's commitment to follow the law, where civic mindedness is so developed that people instinctively refrain from actions that are detrimental to society as a whole. To strengthen the character of our young and take the Philippines out of the clutches of drug cartels, I have embarked on a campaign against illegal drugs. Likewise, institutionalize the Philippine anti-illegal drug strategy in 2018. And we are pursuing all of this in the balanced and comprehensive manner consistent with the imperatives of democratic ideals and the values and the rule of law. We will not be deterred in pursuing this task. Again, I cut my prepared speech. Way back during, I don't know whose time was it, the President of the United States, the Secretary of Interior and Local Governments, Secretary Alunan, he's a bright guy. I think he's a CIA. Maybe of you knows him. How many CIAs are here today? Nobody. Such pretensions. Well, he was called by the DEA of the United States. And he was warned. And the DEA said, at the rate your country is being swallowed by drugs, we would not be surprised that you will end up in narco state in a short while. When he went back to the Philippines, he called for all the mayors and governors and told us that. That was during Marcos's time. That would be something like 15, 16 years ago. And it was not until after I became president that the ugly head reared and the contamination of my people numbered into 1,600,000. But that was only the count in Manila, the capital city. We did not count the number of addicts and people who are drunk with shabu, meth, in the provinces. I would simply say that about 7. I have 7 million countrymen who are slaves now at this modern day and age. They are slaves to a drug called shabu. Shabu is the poor man's drug. It's cheap to manufacture. Cocaine belongs to the rich. Well, I'm sure that I have 5 minutes. Who's the next crowd waiting? Because if they are not as beautiful as you, I'd rather, well, anyway, I said. And over the years, we saw city mayors, governors. Well, of course, they are all dead. I mean, I became president, as was my sloganeering when I was mayor. For 23 years in Davao, I said, do not destroy my country, because I will kill you. Do not force my children to eat methamphetamine, because I will kill you. You make them crazy. You make them inutile. They're nothing but They just lie there and they die there. And when the father loses to drugs, the entire family collapses. So there are millions of dysfunctional families in my country. And I said, I'd be frank with you. Do not do it in the Philippines. I will kill you, period. I also intend to ensure that Mindanao, the long-neglected part of the country where I hail from, will realize its full potentials. Among the most positive development is the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. We are now having a relatively peaceful central Mindanao, where the Moro, or most of the Muslim populations are there. We are now in the process of transition. In 2017, after a harrowing and arduous fight against terrorists, we liberated Marawi. Construction is ongoing. Do not worry, all the donors of the country, your money is in the bank. They're all pledges. And the money that Japan and everybody contributed are all accounted for. We have not spent the foreign aid assistance. We spent first our own money. I assure you, the bank has the money, Central Bank of the Philippines. In 2017, reconstruction is ongoing, and I thank the government of Japan for its enduring commitment over many decades to build a peaceful and resilient Mindanao. Through good governance, we have created an enabling environment that allows businesses and investment to prosper. We have initiated comprehensive tax reform program. We're strengthening domestic policies to promote ease of doing business and competitiveness. The Philippines has embarked on a massive changing infrastructure program dubbed as Build, Build, Build. We aim to increase infrastructure spending 5% of our GDP and usher in a golden age of infrastructure development in my country. In all these respects, Japan is a reliable, responsible, relevant partner. We value Japan's recipient-driven approach to cooperation and development. I am proud to note that our engagement with Japan is an exercise of responsible partnership. It is one that empowers rather than fosters dependency. It is underpinned by friendship, reconciliation, deepening through the years by mutual respect and understanding. This is the kind of relationship you seek with other countries, big or small. We must build, I have 3 more pages to read. I do not. Well, I'll just give me your cell phone and I will just continue with our talk tonight. I'll call every one of you. Really, let's talk at the bottom. I'll make it a shortcut. Who wants investments? Who wants it? My country needs it. Now, the investors, be it Japanese, Chinese, the first thing is our money safe? Well, in my term, it is safe. Is there no corruption? There is no corruption. I have killed all of them already. Some, but not all. And that is your first question. Are money safe? Is the environment good? I said, if you are an investor, I'm sure that you have a local partner or an agent or somebody, just an errand boy. If you have a problem, if you incur hindrances, and somebody is asking money for you, even 1 peso, you have an access to my office in Pasig. 24 hours a day. You just wake me up, and I will call the guy who's shaking you up. That is my promise. That is my guarantee. Your return on investment is yours. You can take your money anytime out. Do not be afraid. We will not stop you. So that is the first question. The second question, which is important, is, are we safe there? Is the place where we intend to put up the factory or the business safe enough for you? It is safe. It's in the lower end, the tail end of, where there's the Abu Sayyaf. But it's near Malaysia and Indonesia, and the influences. But you have to travel 3 days to go there. If you are doing business, why should you go there? And please conclude speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we love Japan. You know, I'm sorry, it's the Prime Minister who's waiting for me. So you're not even the second or the third. I leave you with just a smile. Arigato.